Students, electrolysis of copper sulphate, third part on page 111. Electrolysis of copper sulphate solution using platinum anode and copper or platinum cathode. Right? Now we will discuss this part. See, what is the electrolyte? Saturated, very important word. Solution, very important. Name is copper sulphate. Okay, you can write full wording or write acidified with the concentrated sulfuric acid. So this is your electrolyte. Saturated aqueous solution of copper sulphate acidified with concentrated sulfuric acid. And this is the arrangement. Arrangement is, what is the anode? Platinum. What is the cathode? It can be platinum also, copper also. But see, we can't say in the case of anode. Anode is not copper. 100% not copper, it is platinum. But cathode, if it is platinum, it's okay. Then also no problem. Even if it is cathode, then also no problem. But not anode. Because, copper is attackable anode. If it is anode is copper, then the reactions will change. Now, what is the electrolyte taken here? That already we have discussed. Saturated aqueous solution of copper sulphate acidified with sulfuric acid. So this diagram also you have to learn. What you have to write in the diagram. First of all, this is anode. It should be connected with positive terminal. This is cathode. It should be connected with negative terminal. If you are not connecting the terminal properly, you will lose marks. And write the material of anode. Not just anode, ANODE, no, material you have to write, and here also material you have to write. And what is the electrolyte? Saturated aqueous solution of copper sulphate acidified with the sulfuric acid. Now what are the electrodes here? Already they have given in the question itself. Cathode platinum or copper also will work, but anode only platinum. Now what is the ionization dissociation? Means first of all we must know now what are the ions present in electrolyte, then only we can write their reactions. So what are the three things present there? Copper sulphate, it will dissociate, see ionic compound dissociate to form copper ion, Cu plus 2 ion. The most common mistake students are doing is their charges are wrong. It is plus 2, it is always plus 2 in electrolysis. Sulphate SO4 minus 2. Water will ionize to form H and OH ion, H plus 1 and OH minus 1. And sulfuric acid they have not written, you write. Sulfuric acid ionized to form, see water and acid ionize to form 2 H ion and sulphate ion. So what are the ions present? Copper ion and H ion positive ion. Sulphate and OH ion are negative ion. These are ions present. 4 ions are present. And how many particles are there? Water is a molecule present there. So particles, in particle include water also. But if they are asking ions, only 4. If particle, then 5. Because ions plus 1 molecule. Now reaction at cathode. See, ions are copper and H ion. So which will migrate towards cathode? Positive ion. Copper will migrate, H will migrate. But what is lower in the electrochemical series? Just remember the electropositive series here. What is lower one? H is above, copper is below. So which ion will discharge here? Copper ion will discharge. And what is the charge on copper ion? Plus 2. And it will reach negative cathode. Negative cathode means excess of electron it has. So copper ion will donate 2 electrons to copper ion. Cathode donate 2 electrons to copper ion. Copper ion gain those 2 electrons and form neutral copper atom. And these copper ions are actually blue in color. They are responsible for blue color of electrolyte. And when copper ion changes into copper atom, so blue color naturally will decrease or fade away. It will fade because of this. And what is the color of copper formed? Pinkish brown. Okay, solid is formed where at cathode, on the surface of cathode it is formed, deposit there. Now reaction at anode. Sulphate and OH ion are negative ions. They will migrate towards anode. But what is lower? OH is lower. So 4 OH lose 4 electron to form 4 OH radicals. and 4 OH radicals, 2 plus 2, 4 only, to form 2 water and oxygen. So which gas is formed at anode? Oxygen is formed. Right? Product formed at anode is oxygen, means colorless bubbles of oxygen gas are seen there. Right? And what is the product formed at cathode? Copper, that is pinkish or reddish brown copper is deposited there at cathode. Now when see copper ions are discharging, changing into copper atom, slowly all copper ion will finish. All copper ions will finish. If we keep on carrying out this process, if the process continues for a long time, then all copper ion will finish. When all copper ions are finished, then what is the other positive ion left? Copper ion finished. And what is the other positive ion left? H ion. Okay, H positive ion. So H positive ion then start discharging at cathode. H will form hydrogen gas. If on a prolonged basis, if the electrolysis is prolonged, means it is carried on for a long period of time, when all the copper ion finishes, then which ion will discharge at cathode? H plus ion. It will form hydrogen gas. If hydrogen gas is formed at cathode and oxygen is already formed at anode, hydrogen at cathode, oxygen at anode, then what kind of electrolysis is this? This is a simple electrolysis of water, but prolonged one, prolonged electrolysis. So this is what is mentioned here. When deposition of copper ion is completed, then the electrolysis of water takes place. I have already explained why. Hydrogen gas is liberated at cathode and oxygen gas is liberated at anode, but this happens only if electrolysis is prolonged. Prolonged electrolysis. Okay, then it happens. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Now next is why blue color of electrolyte fade away? Electrolyte copper sulphate, it has a blue color. Why? Because of copper ion, because copper ions are blue. Now why this blue color fade away? See that at cathode copper ion change into copper metal. So copper ions are decreasing because they are changing into copper metal. And at anode no copper ion enter the electrolyte, because at anode is not made up of copper. And no copper ion is made at anode. So that means copper ions are slowly decreasing. So concentration of copper ion goes on decreasing, and that is why blue color of copper sulphate fades away. Blue color of copper sulphate fades away. Right? So these things you have to learn. And these are observation here. These are 2 questions based on it. Reaction at electrolysis, anode, cathode you have to do. Electrolyte you have to learn. Electrode you have to learn. Okay, these are the questions mainly which you have to learn. Next, electrolysis, see again. Electrolysis of aqueous copper sulphate again aqueous copper sulphate. Then what is the difference between this 4th one and the 3rd one? Difference is here both electrodes are copper electrodes. Both electrodes are copper electrodes. See, diagram is also similar. Cathode copper. Earlier what was cathode? It can be copper also, anode and platinum also. But here they are taking copper. You can take anode, platinum also, no problem. This is not a problem. But problem is anode. But anode is here copper surely, not platinum. So that difference is there from the first copper sulphate electrolysis and the second one. Electrolyte same, aqueous solution of copper sulphate acidified with the sulfuric acid. Now what are the electrodes here? Electrolyte first of all, acidified with aqueous copper sulphate solution acidified with traces of sulfuric acid. Why sulfuric acid is added? To enhance the conductivity of electrolyte. Why sulfuric acid is added? To increase the conductivity of electrolyte. Sulfuric acid is added. Why it is added? Just to make the electrolyte better conductor of electricity, right? Electrodes are copper, cathode and anode copper. See, cathode can be other also, but anode is surely copper here in this case. Dissociation, dissociation is similar. Copper sulphate dissociate to form copper and sulphate ion. Water dissociate to form H and OH ion. Sulfuric acid dissociate to form H and sulphate ion. So it is same. So ions are same, molecules, particles are same only. Same to the third electrolysis, similar to that. So, what are the ions present? Same C, copper ion, H and sulphate and OH. And what are the particles present? These 4 ions plus water, you can write. Reaction at anode. What is the reaction at anode? First of all, reaction at cathode we'll discuss. Copper ion, positive ion migrate toward, H ion is also positive, copper is also positive. Copper ion migrate towards anode, gain 2 electron to form copper atom. So, at cathode copper ion decrease, right? And pinkish brown metal is formed, and we have done it here also in the third experiment, third copper sulphate before this, right? So similar reaction. Now reaction at anode, earlier what was there? OH discharge, but here it is not like this. Here what happens, although sulphate and OH ion migrate to anode, but neither of them will discharge. Why? Because due to the nature of anode, active copper anode is active anode. 3 anodes in our syllabus are active anode, and what are they? Copper is there, silver is there, nickel is there, right? Whenever these active anodes are coming, then these anodes will take part in a reaction. What is this anode? Copper. Copper means Cu, metal. And what is the charge on copper ion? +2. And how will get +2 charge? By losing 2 electrons. So copper lose 2 electrons to form copper ion. Where? At anode. So at cathode copper ions change to copper metal, but at anode new copper ions are formed from copper anode. So on one side copper ions are decreasing, on the other side copper ions are increasing. They are entering the electrolyte. So therefore concentration of copper ion does not change, and if concentration of copper ion does not change means the blue color of electrolyte also will not fade away. So what is the answer why blue color does not fade away? Because at anode copper ions are formed. At cathode copper ions discharge to form copper metal, and therefore at one electrode copper ions are decreasing, other they are formed. That means concentration of copper ion will not change, hence blue color also will not fade away, right? So this is what is discussed here. The blue color of aqueous solution remains unchanged during its electrolysis. Reason: for every copper ion discharge at cathode, means copper ion change into copper metal at cathode as a neutral copper atom, copper ion is released where? Or added to the solution by anode. Anode releases copper ion, and that copper ion enter the electrolyte, and at cathode copper ion changes into copper metal and removed from electrolyte. Removed means stick with the rod, right? Therefore concentration of copper ion will not change, hence blue color does not fade away. The cathode, because see this, at cathode copper ion gain electron and form copper atom, and this copper atom stick to cathode. If something is sticking on the cathode, don't you think its weight will increase? So weight of cathode increases, but here reverse happens. This is a copper anode, means rod itself. If one atom of copper anode lose 2 electron to form copper ion, and this copper ion then from rod it enter the electrolyte. So that means some material dissociate from anode, separate from anode. So weight of anode will decrease. Weight of cathode increases, weight of anode decreases. The cathode will become thicker because its weight will increase, copper will deposit. Anode become thinner because its weight will decrease and it dissolve. So this is also observation, this is also observation. 2 observations are there in this electrolysis. Thank you.